Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, and a very special and a very exciting day today because it's Sunday, Easter Sunday. Happy to all celebrators out there celebrating the good old bunny day, and I think the resurrection or the resonating. Sorry if this is offensive, but I actually don't know these things. But I would like to wish you a happy and healthy start to your Sunday, whether you're celebrating or not, to begin with. Anyways, with that said, a lot to talk about today, but I do want to let you know that I'll be uploading another video in the Krown podcast series, I guess, an interview with another community member, Mr. J himself, as you'll see, a lovely community member, known him for actually like maybe 3 years, almost 3 years now, I think, and that'll be going live, I think, at about midnight my time tonight. Really interesting story from him, really great conversation, and actually a former poker player switching on to being a trader. Anyways, with that said, we have a lot of things to discuss over here on the Krown application. By the way, it can be found at app.krown.net. The link's in the description below, and you can have it all for your own self for free. And a big update coming, I believe, at the end of this month. We're going to be having some major integrations with CME data, bringing that in, and amongst many other things as well. Anyways, with that said, what do we want to focus on right now? Oh, yes, I do want to mention this, the liquidity zone. By the way, the interview that I did with Mr. Eric and Ken of the liquidity zone, obviously up, and that was uploaded, I don't know, about half a week ago. I think it was like middle of last week. More importantly, they do have their newsletter for those of you who are interested in especially the traditional markets, as they're going to be releasing, I believe, two issues a month, and they're just going to be going over, like pretty interesting, mostly targeted towards like newer people interested in traditional markets. So if you are that type of person, definitely go check it out, as that will be a pretty damn good insight into that whole endeavor. And with that said, let's get on into the Krown application right now, which we can see that the Bitcoin dominance did pop up a little bit from yesterday to today. I believe we were in the low 56% region, now popping back up to 57. And this is starting to look a lot more like altcoin season is here for a little bit longer. As long as Bitcoin is ranging between $50,000 and $60,000, I would be looking for altcoins to be the main beneficiaries of that. And right now, Mr. Ethereum, Mr. Buterin himself, is going to be the main star of the show, it looks like, as it head up towards almost our 2150 target from yesterday, or I believe actually might even hit that. And it was a follow-up on that one today. Also a little bit of Bitcoin short-term analysis as well. Fear and greed index is literally stuck at a 74, so this is still yet again another bullish thing long term. Short term, Bitcoin can play out a little bit of pullback, and actually have a lot to say about this weekend pullback thus far, but we'll save that from when we actually get into the charts. What else do we see here? Open interest, pretty much the same thing as yesterday. We did lose about 200 million, that is, alongside Bitcoin coming down about $2,000 to $3,000 from our $59,000 highs, now down to a low price of the day of just in the low $56,000 range. So yeah, about $2,000, $3,000 pullback right there, and that would suggest that it is longs taking profit. So again, another thing long term in the Bulaw's case, at least as long as this long-term formation and long-term structure does hold up. I mean, it's always within the context of that, and still more or less good. I mean, Bitcoin has rising lows as long as above like $45,000 right now on higher term time frames, so it's no real major issue. Sorry, actually not $45,000, that's $51,000. Anyways, top 10 best coins, top 10 worst coins, all a bunch of shit coins. Actually, it looks like almost all the same things from yesterday to today. Few newcomers to the top 10 worst coins. Bitcoin SV. What are you telling me, that thing's going down? What the fuck, man? That's a bunch of hogwash. I ain't listening to that. It's FUD, Krown. You're spreading FUD on my Bitcoin SVs. Sorry, man. Well, it is down about 9% actually. Anyways, into the market data tab we go. Let's check out what we got going on over here, if anything different, and still, open interest alongside price action, more or less good. Do I think that we can come down here a little bit more? Yep, I do think so, but overall, no, more or less fine. On top of that, we do see that the funny rate has gone for a major reset now, down all the way to just a half of a percent, if that makes sense. Not 0.05 of what I'm trying to say, globally speaking. And of course, when we actually dig into the minutia, it's once again, FTX is the only one that's way the fuck out there. Everyone else is very much more reasonable. You can see just Bybit actually right around the 0.1% threshold. Jesus, man, I am just absolutely jargling all my words today. On top of that, we see, pretty much everyone else right around parity, so I don't look at that as anything too nasty. And more importantly, this, again, does play into the long-term long-term bullishness of Bitcoin. Again, do not confirm long-term bullishness with short-term pullbacks. Anyways, you can see over here it's just still downtrending over time, so ever since our January highs, so that looks good to me as well. Anyways, what else do we have to talk about here that needs a little bit of discussion that we already even mentioned? I don't really think anything, but oh, it's a dog day. We got a couple of Pomeranians walking into the door right now, so excuse the noises in the background. Hello, moi moi, Mrs. Mermaid. Would you like to introduce the doggies or not? Okay, well, she's having a nice day. Why do you have sunglasses on? There's not any sun. Anyway. Okay, she doesn't want wrinkles. All right, well, whatever. Anyways, on to more important things besides fucking wrinkles. Let's go over here and should we start off with the long-term time frames today or not? Okay, so the reason why I want to start off with the long-term time frames today is because I want to put this all into context with what we're going to talk about in the short-term time frames, obviously. Anyways, looking at the monthly right here, I do still think that we have a very similar interplay to what we saw from last week. Oh, shit, we got a flying doggy coming in. This one is lucky. And if you pet him twice, then it means that Bitcoin will have some bula-ishness. He also dances too. Anyways, yeah, so, you know, a very, very similar interplay here to what we saw last month in, of course, March. And that is the topside Toronto band almost all, or not almost always, but pretty much always 100%. Oh, whoa, we got, wait, this one's Napa. She's a flying doggy as well. She looks very confused. That dog does not look happy. We treat our dogs well, except we don't have any dogs. Anyways, yeah, so looking at the monthly right here, very similar interplay to what we saw last month. In really the months prior, I mean, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months just straight green and trending above the top side Toronto band. And anytime that we have seen this interplay, we always have seen Bitcoin at the very least on the low of that month test the top side of the Toronto band. And in this case right here, the top side Toronto band is currently situated right around 52,000 bucks. Now, obviously, this is reactive to price action, just like last month. When the month opened, Bitcoin was trading 45,000 bucks. The top side Toronto band was somewhere around 40,000 bucks, maybe even a little bit below that. And that was kind of driving the bias. Hey, you know, we have a rather big range here. And things certainly could come down, but it would still have the overall bias of looking at that at least as like a major bounce and probably even, you know, just the major low of that month. In this case, same thing for this monthly. And while I do think Bitcoin has a little bit of short-term downside here, I just want to present the opportunity or a potential opportunity that Bitcoin could very likely have that same sort of interplay. Obviously, at some point, that is not going to work. Obviously, at some point, you know, we will get a reversal. We will see a major shift in market dynamics, but I don't think that that's happening just right yet. So I do want to say that, and I do want to be on record as saying that. And, you know, long term, I am still very much bullish on this, at least for the information that we do have. The key for me in this one is the accumulation distribution indicator. As long as we have a positive slope on this on this indicator, I cannot get bearish really from this perspective. Obviously, as long as we don't have a weekly reversal as well, I can't get bearish as well. Those are my two major things. Everything else is kind of secondary to that, save for a few things perhaps, but those have been historically the most relevant things. Now, do they call it perfectly to the T? Well, on the lows, actually pretty damn well. In fact, you could obviously fit a trend line right here, but more importantly, you can just pick all these out as major lows within the market. We can see that that our last slope change was from May. That called, or that essentially told you to get long from about 8,000 bucks all the way to where we're at right now, as it stayed a positive slope the whole way through. The time before that we had a slope change was way the fuck back on over here at about 10,000 bucks in February of 2020, before going from 10,000 to 4,000 in coronavirus dumb times. How did it know that? I don't fucking know. And then the time before that was switching it up from January, February of 2019 at about 3,100 bucks all the way to 14,000 bucks right here. Now, admittedly, this one does not get the high on this phase shift, but this is, you know, this is all kind of one massive consolidation here anyways. Of course, before that, we did see a negative slope coming into March of 2018 on this bull trap. So it didn't get the $20,000 all-time high, but it did get or actually did it? Let's see, it technically happened. Yeah. Okay, so it was February, March. So yeah, it was the bull trap of that area. And then of course, before that, you know, we did have a few more slope changes way the fuck back on over here, which you can test for yourself. But more importantly, as long as this does remain with the positive slope, which we actually just got our newest tick just a few days ago, which is still very much positive slope, although it did lose a little bit of its curvature there. I do have a difficult time like calling a macro high, for example. So I don't think that Bitcoin's, you know, going to be taking out last month's low for example, at 45,000 bucks. I do think that Bitcoin probably has a little bit of short-term downside here, maybe, but ultimately I do think that we get a very similar play to last month, where either Bitcoin comes all the way down to test the topside Tron band in its current formation, which is around just below 52,000 bucks, or Bitcoin, you know, comes a little bit further down and then spends the rest of the month going green dildo Hulk mode. Oh, Jesus, now I'm turning the fucking O-face bastards. Jesus Christ. But naturally get pulled up as well, and probably, you know, land somewhere at about 55,000 bucks. Hint, hint. Anyways, of course, it's not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, but looking at everything else, I mean, we essentially have continuation signals here. We do see that MACD histogram continuing to increase the momentum on the monthly monthly Stokes. Technically still anchors to the north side here too. As long as it's within or above the critical zone, I look at this as essentially, you know, strong trending motion, probably the last, you know, echelon of this current parabolic rally. But you know, until it actually really comes back, Jesus fucking Christ, until it comes back down around there, I don't, you know, I just don't look at this as actionable. For example, the last time we saw it come back down was January 2018. That was quite literally actually calling the top right around 20,000 bucks right here. Obviously this one's going to tell you a little bit sooner. Anyways, with that said, it should also be denoted that, look, when this actually got above the critical zone, that actually started in January 2017. So that was this whole rally from, you know, about 900 bucks all the way to 20,000 bucks just a year later, pretty much. So with that said, you know, still long term, I do remain bullish here. The key or the finesse is going to be calling the next short term and maybe medium term low. Anyways, should we go to the weekly while we're here as well? Weekly looks still more or less stair-stepping its way up. Don't see any major issues with this as it is just yet. We do see weekly Stokes slightly angled to the downside here, but again, as long as it's within the critical zone, I do look at this as more or less strong trending motion. And if it does actually crack down below the critical zone, I would look for a deeper retracement. But keep in mind, we do have this regression coming in all the way from not just our December 2019 lows, but basically like the October, December of 2019 lows in that region, getting also our April 2020 area and of course our October 2020 area as well, and that would be meeting up around the critical zone. So good confluence there, and I would probably be looking for, you know, another pop back to the upside, at least on the first pass of that test, at least another try, and then game on once again. Anyways, now I want to get into the fun stuff for today because it is time to go to the lower term timeframes over here. So here's the thing. Over the weekends, I feel very, very strongly about this, and I stutter to fucking share this because I feel like every time I bring this up, there's always at least a few people who will massively mishear me on this, and then like just and then basically just talk shit or whatever the fuck they want to do. Anyways, for the people who actually happen to give a fuck, what is this, or sorry, what is the interplay that we typically look at or have seen on a weekend? Anytime in a strong trending move, meaning, you know, when we're looking at a daily plus basically, or if you just want to make things easier, a weekly, and we see a contrary move over the weekend, it almost always does reverse. You almost never, in fact, I cannot think of one single fucking time where we have seen a reversal that was over the weekend that was sustained in the coming week, meaning that typically in this case right here, when we're looking at a generally bullish market, you know, the daily is very much in an uptrend, the weekly is obviously in a fucking uptrend as well. Then if on the weekend we do see a pullback, usually is one of those BTFD type moments where, you know, things can obviously come down a little bit further, but ultimately that is, you know, essentially a washout move. And why does it typically happen over the weekend? I mean, this is more of a theory question, but I would argue, or I'd postulate that it's likely because there's just less people trading over the weekend. You know, if professionals are typically trading on 9 to 5 schedule, or 9 to 5, 5 days a week schedule, or does that make sense? Yeah, it does make sense. Okay. Eastern Standard Time, that is. Anyways, more importantly with that, if they're not trading over the weekend, then that just means that there's less, you know, people fucking around with price action over the weekend. So it's easier for market movers to essentially run the markets over the weekend and, you know, wash people out of their very over leveraged positions, because it's no fucking secret that this market is just ridiculously immature in the sense that people are like, yeah, I always see these comments like, do you think Bitcoin will go down below 56,500? It's like, that's not even a fucking sneeze at this point. Like, look at the fucking volatility and look at the variance of this asset. That's not even doing anything, you know? So you see shit like that, and obviously, you know, it's designed to get those types of people out. If you want actually a little bit of a cheat code, or it's not necessarily a cheat code, but a little bit of like a very interesting dynamic to kind of look at. Look at what the liquidation prices would be for a 10x sort of leverage position, you know, at current market price. that's usually gonna happen, to be honest with you, because especially on those more like medium term moves, because again, it's designed to get those people out of the market. 10x leverage is actually ridiculous in my opinion. Look, you can do that in forex. You're offered up to like 100x or even in some cases like 500x in forex. But look, forex moves in not 0.1 decimals at a time, and sometimes even more than that. So yeah, it kind of makes sense to do, not 500x leverage, but it makes sense to use a little more leverage. Bitcoin moves fucking thousands of dollars within a day. That's in a lot of cases. And so do you need 100x leverage? Fuck no. Do you need 10x leverage? Absolutely fucking not. Do you need like 2x leverage? Probably not as well. To be honest with you, when I was trading traditional markets as a professional, we only had access to 4x leverage. And if you went to like even above 3x leverage, it was like, oh damn, this guy's like really fucking doing something right now. It's kind of crazy, right? So that's why I look at it in that vein. Anyways, let's follow up on yesterday's short-term time frame analysis. So Bitcoin failed to break to the upside. Obviously, did not follow through with Mr. Buterin, but that's again, neither here nor there. More importantly, we did break below our short-term bias area yesterday. That was just based off of the last 4-hour higher low. That was 58,500 right here. Sorry, 58,700 right here was our inflection point for that region. And then what was a target if that area does indeed break? It was not this area right here, it was this area right here at 56,500. However, I do think that things could come down a little bit lower. I don't know why this trend line's right here. Well, obviously it was relevant for this higher low structure, but it's not relevant for what we're talking about right now. Now, equally speaking, I could be looking for a little bit of a further pullback. And to be quite honest with you, I think this would be a lot more of an obvious trade. Anywhere down around the 2.414 as a 200 simple and 200 exponential average start to really work their way up towards that region, probably early this coming week, maybe even a little bit later tonight after we get like another couple closures here. It should start to work its way up around there. Now, remember, putting that into context of the monthly over here, would that start to, really look like it's actually testing the top side trailing band? Well, technically no, but if Bitcoin does close the month green, which I still do have targets towards 69 to 7,000 bucks, then it will naturally pull itself above that region, and that condition will once again be fulfilled, just like we saw last month, where Bitcoin didn't come all the way down to 40,000 bucks. The low was at 45,000 bucks, rallied up and closed somewhere around like 56 or 58, and what do you know? It gets pulled up right here too, and you're essentially testing it. So with that in mind, I do think that we're looking at something very, very similar this month. I know that it looks crazy, and I know it sounds kind of moon boyish to not really be looking for a high just yet, but look, as long as Bitcoin's in, at the very least, a daily uptrend, I don't even think it's a fucking topic of consideration that Bitcoin has actually topped. For example, everyone and their mother is talking about this goddamn pi cycle indicator, and honestly, the pi cycle indicator is an interesting thing. However, it has become a goddamn meme of itself, perhaps due to my observations on it. But I want to take some responsibility for that as well. But at the end of the day, like, understand there's no perfect like golden indicator to do these sorts of things. And honestly, like focusing down on an indicator that is very, very small iterations over time is just not, I mean, it's, I don't think that is a very good way of doing things. Look, at the end of the day, I will not be calling a top on Bitcoin at all whatsoever until we get a weekly reversal or the accumulation distribution indicator gets a negative slope. Those things do happen together. I'd be looking for probably a 70 to maybe even 80% pullback, as we have seen in the past, pretty much every fucking time that we've gotten that interplay. But for right now, do we have that? No, we don't even have a daily downtrend, for the love of fucking God. What would be necessary in order to create a daily downtrend? Well, we need a lower low, for example, and currently speaking, our last higher low is $51,000. So as long as Bitcoin just doesn't take out 51,000 bucks, I do look at this next short-term to medium-term downside move as a major opportunity in line with the monthly, and very likely does still, head up towards those further north targets, somewhere around 69 to 70,000 bucks. Where am I basing that off of? Well, quite simply put, right on over here, if we go to CMEs, which, by the way, CMEs not trading over the weekend, more importantly, I think that definitely deserves a little bit of consideration here. And by the way, did close the week at above 60,000 bucks. I would be looking at this as still kind of generating those upside targets. I still do look at this as an ascending triangle until this area is actually officially broken on a 12-hour or daily, which is also synonymous with the 2.618. Funny how those things do seem to work rather well together. And because this is technically speaking an ascending triangle, we would have a measure move all the way up here towards about 69,000 bucks, which is also confluent, funnily enough, with the 3.618 Fibonacci extension. So I like all of these, especially seeing as this fib extension has really been working incredibly incredibly well. Coming out of the space from 30,000 to 40,000 over here, 414 getting the low side of this, the 2 spot getting the low side of this, the 618 getting the high side thus far. I mean, all of this is, you know, pretty fucking stock standard stuff. So fair enough on that. Anyways, if Bitcoin does break back down below this region, you know, on a confirmed closure on when CME opens later tonight, then yes, I would start to look at this as a swing failure pattern. At the very least, move down to the 20 simple here at the 2 spot 414 at 56,500, which spot price action pretty much already fulfilled, and then maybe another test down towards the rising trend line around the 2 spot 272, just below 55,000 bucks as well. And again, that would still play within the guise of the monthly. Do I think that you know, do I think that Bitcoin's going to come down further lower than that? To be honest, no, I don't think so. The reason why I say that is because Ethereum is leading right now, and Ethereum is still more or less good, especially with the consideration of the weekly here. So let's go back onto this region right here. And any sort of a closure today, any sort of a closure at all. And honestly, I mean, unless it like drastically does not fulfill this area, but 1950, anywhere above there, yeah, about 1950, I would be looking for a continuation over the next month to the upside for Ethereum. If Ethereum continues to the upside, do I think that Bitcoin's going to top out? Very unlikely, no. I just think that Ethereum's going to be leading for a little bit of time. We see rotations go on within this market, and then, you know, maybe at a later date, Bitcoin does follow through. Here's the thing, though. We do have a major event coming on the 14th of April. Coinbase will be essentially listed on a traditional exchange. I think they're going on New York Stock Exchange. Doesn't really matter. It's, you know, it's all the same shit. Anyways, more importantly with that, this is extremely likely to be one of those things that is like buy the rumor, sell the news type event, meaning in this case, you know, probably going to get a free ride to the upside until that April 14th date, and then very likely sell off, you know, after that. Does Bitcoin actually reverse back down and you know, play out some major downside after that? I would not feel comfortable saying that just yet, but if there is going to be a time for a major downturn, that very likely is going to be it. So I would really keep eyes on the 14th, which is coming in about 10 days. And honestly, I wouldn't just say the 14th. I would say like the couple days prior and the couple days after. That's typically where you see these sorts of events start to really come to fruition. So I do think that Bitcoin very likely just gets kind of a free ride to the upside until then on the higher term timeframes. Lower term timeframes, yep, they're going to, you know, ebb to and flow, obviously. But as long as, especially we're holding above 51,000 bucks, I do still look at 69 to 70,000 bucks, you know, over time, and fair enough on that. Anyways, let's bring up what momentum oscillators over here. Do we see anything of particular note? TSI having a bit of a downturn, but I don't look at this as like an actionable thing, you know, especially in the bullish bias region. What I'm looking for is obviously crosses to the upside. Now compare that with what we see on CME right here. CME is like literally just having another upside signal. Which ones do I figure do I favor? Well, of course, CME at the end of the day, the signals there are significantly more efficacious. On top of that, we do see hidden bullish divergence coming off this current low and a maintaining well, RSI just in the bullish control zone, both good, obviously above the exponential, which is actually about to get above the bullish control zone as well. That is a very nice interplay. So obviously, while CME is not trading, you know, spot markets can do whatever the fuck they want, and they are gonna do shit like this. But as it stands, you know, just based off of CME structure, I would still be looking further to the upside. Buy daily is looking really fucking good here from an RSI perspective. And in 3 daily, probably going to be the same thing. Yeah, in fact, 3 daily looking, or 3 daily, triple daily, looking pretty much the exact same. So overall, I still do look to the upside here. If I'm just looking at spot price action, you know, you can see that the 3 days coming down is tested 10 simple. Do I think it could come down a little bit lower? Yeah, wouldn't really do all that much for me. Same thing with the 2 day, and in fact, we can see the 21 exponential average on the 2 day, which has been holding up pretty much all the lows. In fact, ever since October 2020 at about 11,000 bucks, all the tests down here have been pretty obvious higher lows. You know, if it came back down around there, I would still look at that first and foremost as a major opportunity on first pass, and that is currently rising rapidly like the fucking Phoenix at about 54,500. So that would very eerily sound like the 4-hour target if Bitcoin does break this next level right here, which again wouldn't really do all that much for me. You know, just I just generally be targeting down to the 200 simple and 200 exponential average over here, which are a little bit below 55,000 bucks. So anywhere around there does look good to me. 2 spot 272 as well, and that would also, you know, if we were to draw a trend line here, I'm sure that the I'm sure that that comes in somewhere around there as well. And what do you fucking know? Yep, right there around the 272 if we approach it from our current pod stream. So overall, do I think that Bitcoin could have a little bit more downside? Yeah, it's definitely possible here. But my main point is that I do look at this as an opportunity, especially in the days leading up to this event here with Coinbase IPO, or Coinbase, just direct listing actually. Anyways, on top of that, or on that topic, so we have two major things that are likely, or one of them is obviously going to happen. The other thing is probably going to happen. So the first one is obviously the Coinbase whole event. That will get played in the way that events typically get played. What's more important, and what I think will likely keep this market up for longer, is a Bitcoin ETF. Do I think that a Bitcoin ETF happens this year? I think it's actually quite likely. I've been saying this for the last couple of years here, that 2021 is, probably going to be it, maybe 2022. But I do think that we're extremely close. You can see that all the infrastructure is being built around the universe right now, but especially in the US, as far as traditional land goes. You're seeing Bitcoin, not just Bitcoin futures, but now Bitcoin like mini contracts, which is going to make this a lot more accessible to the general, retailer, I suppose. Because right now it's just completely out of reach for most people. If you want to trade on CMEs, you got to have like 5x your fucking equity, just put on one fucking contract. And one contract is 5 Bitcoin. And 5 Bitcoin right now is like $250,000, $250,000, which most people, especially retailers, are probably not going to have. Unless you're a professional, unless if this is like your main source of income, you might not be, you're less likely to be playing with that amount of money, is what I'll say. So overall, I do think that'll be good, obviously long term, but similar to what we saw in 2017 with CME futures coming out, I would be looking for something relatively similar to that as well. And that very likely does get played upon with a potential ETF. And I'd be looking for just about the same interplay there. And that's going to be the big one, because that's really what brings it into the mainstream as far as like what actually is accessible, not just like talking about it on CNBC or, on social media, shit like that. So that is what I'd say about that. Anyways, as it stands right now, do I think that Bitcoin could put in a local low right here at our current low of about 56.5? Yeah, it's possible, but I really would not look at anything resembling a local low until Bitcoin comes back above the breakdown point, and that was 58. We could even see like 58,500 at this point. If Bitcoin does pop back above that region, do I think that it's just generally going to continue the upside? Very likely, yes. Obviously going to have a short-term resistance area right around $6,000, nice little psychological number, but I don't look at it as much other than that. And fair enough, I don't really have a strong opinion on that right now. I think it's very possible to come down a little bit lower. Equally, just as likely, I think that it's likely to put a low here. My point is, whether it's a couple $1,000 lower or not, I do think that Bitcoin is more or less an opportunity, depending upon your sort of time frame. And of course, again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is further thing from it, in fact. Anyways, looking at the 12-hour right here, do we see anything of particular interest? Yeah, we're seeing TSI actually cross back down around it, but I'm curious what it looks like on CME. Not even remotely fucking close, huh? And in order to actually cross down, we actually would need to close a 12-hour below 55,750. Anyways, more importantly, I think that actually pretty much gets it for the lower term timeframes, and I feel like this video is taking maybe a little bit longer than what I really intend for. I would like to cover Mr. Buteroll, however, just because I do think that it's leading right now. But before that, I just want to take a quick perusal of how traditional markets closed Thursday, Friday. Well, I guess we already looked at it on Friday because it really closed on Thursday. But Dow Jones closing on new all-time highs. I mean, this is continuation, obviously. SPY futures hit our 40-30 target. Continuation, closed on new all-time highs. NASDAQ confirmed local low right here. Probably some hidden bullish divergence. In fact, yes, indeed, there is between this point and this point. I'd be looking for this one to pop back up to 13,750. With all these markets essentially correlated with Bitcoin and just everything within the world, this is more or less good. And I do think that, generally speaking, the party will continue, at least for the time being. I know this fucking looks crazy, though. I absolutely know. I absolutely understand. And believe me, it is crazy. But what's even crazier is trying to call a reversal before you actually have a reversal of trend, is what I've learned in my, in my experience. Anyways, Okay. Yeah. Quickly back to Ethereum. Let's see. Is Ethereum doing anything in the short-term timeframes right now? Trying to put in a low around the 21 exponential average right here. Do we have any sort of divergences to be aware of? So this was your last higher low right here. I know that the indicator is saying this one. You could make the argument for this one, regardless of whether you're looking at is this one or this one. We obviously would be working on higher lows with any sort of a confirmed local low at $2,000. The reason why that's interesting is because that also confirm hidden bullish divergence on this as well. Very, 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 very nice now, isn't it? And that would essentially keep, again, keep the short-term party alive. Very likely target to move back up above $2,100. Did we hit our 2050 target? Oh yeah, we did. Hey, not bad. All right. Sometimes that TA bullshit works. Sometimes that astrology bullshit works. Anyways, what's worse, astrology or technical analysis? I think... definitely technical analysis, the fucking worst, but it works just enough in order for this to be viable, I suppose. Anyways, more importantly with this, I still look at this as actually trend in motion. Again, having a pullback over the weekend to basically your breakout point is in no way, shape, or form concerning to me. To be honest with you, could we get a wick down to the 10 simple and test there? Wouldn't really do too much for me. As long as it's closing above 1950, I look at this as still very, 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 very likely to stab up towards our north side targets, of which, just looking at this as some sort of an ascending triangle. I mean, this, and also I'm sure that there's some sort of a fib target here too. In fact, I would almost bet my left nutsack on it. Oh, what do you know? We topped out at the 272 right here. Oh, nice. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how that works? Yeah, so the triangle target is going to be the 2 spot right here. It's going to be the fucking width of that or the depth of that. And then your real targets, and then like your probably high of this, of this current move, probably going to be somewhere around the 414, the 618 there, which is actually somewhere around about 2,800. We'll give it, we'll say give or take about $50. Anyways, with that said, I still like this right here. I mean, there's nothing bearish about a fucking weekly new all-time high. And like I said, I'd even just be simply saying that as long as the weekly closes above 1950 or especially $2,000, I'm going to be looking for 2,500 plus over the next few weeks to come, very likely. Okay, cool. Have I spoken your ear off yet? Have I bored you to death? Have I bored you to tears? Probably yes, but that's okay. I'm here to shove some more red dildos and green dildos down your ear holes. All right, let's get into it. Do I want to talk about long-term analysis? I think we'll save that just because today actually was a little bit more intense with the short-term time frame analysis. I'm curious what our momentum oscillator is looking like both on CME versus spot price action for now. CME looking like 4 hour up but weak, 3 hour crossing down, bi-hourly up but weak, and hourly down, so flippy floppy all the way around. I look at that as more or less likely to do a little bit of sideways range activity. Let's compare that with spot price action right here, hourly up, although price action is clearly trending down on the hourly, so that's not good. Bi-hourly, same shit. Triple hourly, trying to curl around, and 4 hour coming all the way down as well. I don't see any relevant trend lines here though, so I am a little bit more skeptical to be calling a potential low right here until something like that occurs. And like I said, the next downside target, assuming that this level currently breaks, which Bitcoin's basing off of at 57,500 right here. You could use that. You could use that as a closure, or we could use the wick low of current low. Then I would be targeting like another couple $1,000 down to 55, just below $55,000. So overall, it's pretty cut and dry right there. I'm curious what caretaker ranges are suggesting right now. Yeah, he's pretty much in the same vein. Let's go to a 4 hour. Let's see, bear zone consolidation. Yep, he's showing actually 56 to the downside. Okay, so he's actually not as looking as further south as me. Did get the last low though, however, but that is not looking like it's a low just yet. Daily's actually fine. Daily's actually completely fine from this perspective right here. In fact, Daily's telling you, Daily's saying bounce. Fair enough. I mean, well, it technically is bouncing. It already has bounced about $1,500 from the current low of 56, right? Anyways, I'm actually not getting too much from this right now. It's the Daily's getting the greater range though. Again, just, basically a prior high and a prior low. So that is what you expect as you do kind of get more and more mature within this consolidation. Anyways, okay, cool. Do we want to start to wrap it up there? Yeah, I think we will wrap it up there. I do want to prepare for another interview that I'm actually going to do a little bit later today with Mr. Z Felds of the Discord as well. And hey, doggies, not today, sir. You won't be getting any food later. starve these goddamn dogs. Just kidding. Okay, if you're animal control, we are just kidding. Except Elsa is pretty, you know. No, she loves those dogs more than anything else. All right. Okay, so is that about it? I think that is about it. Yeah, just kind of wrapping things up right now. Short term, you know, do I think that Bitcoin can come down a little bit lower? Yep, but I would still be using one of two methods here to kind of judge that short term continuation, either a 2-hour or 4-hour total closure below 57, or a wick lower than our current wick low right now, which is 56.5 on BitMexico. You know, if that does happen, I would be looking somewhere around about $55,000, fulfills the monthly trajectory. And realistically, I'm looking for major opportunities anywhere around 55, maybe a little bit lower than there would be completely fine. And then very likely Bitcoin continues onwards and upwards, especially into that Coinbase event. And after that, I would be a little bit more cautious here, at least for the medium term, and then kind of come back to it after that. Obviously, you know, don't have a crystal ball. No shit. This game is always a game of statistics and probabilities, but at the end of the day, I don't really have a reason to be like short-term bullish, you know, essentially looking for Bitcoin to break out towards that, or sorry, above that $6,000 region until at the very least we break back above 58.5 right here on a 2-hour or 4-hour once again. Obvious breakout to, you know, $62,000 and then $69,000 respectively would still be above this region right here, just the current, you know, the current 4-hour high structure. So with that said, I do want to wish you well. I do want to wish you the best. I will see you soon. Take care.